Nobody really cares about the rogue opinion of Yu-Gi-Oh, but we're gonna give it to you anyways.
Also, why do we look like reporters?
Good point. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another YugiBOOM discussion. We have Toby, Joe, and our homie Abe on the other line. We're here sideline at the Super Bowl, ready to give you the play-by-play. But in all reality, we're here to talk about some points of Yu-Gi-Oh that have been beaten more than the dead horse. So, with that being said, welcome everybody. If you don't know us, we are YugiBOOM. We are a rogue/budget channel / we still play the game for fun like Mad Lads. But we can afford Ash, so that's nice.
Casual don't mean broke.
Casual don't mean broke, baby. Look at these toys. These shit ain't cheap anymore.
Yeah, you can't find this shit in other channels. We are the real fans. Those other channels ain't shit. Just saying.
I ain't afraid to admit that I played with one of these in the bath as a boy. And the flame swordsman is missing his sword. That's how you know it's battle damage.
And you see this? This is the OG. This ain't the second edition shit.
This shit's so old, it don't even work when you press the fucking button anymore.
You know we're legit.
Anyways, we sidetracked. Today we're going to talk to you about a couple things. They will pop up here on the screen. Thank you, editor. But we are going to be talking about our best and worst Yu-Gi-Oh moments, which those vary. And for us being more like rogue players, but still doing tournaments, and we also growing up had a really consistent like shop with the same people. We have some pretty juicy stories. And the second thing we'll be talking about is archetypes that we want support for. And we will be giving specific things that we feel they need, especially compared to today's meta where nowadays every new deck seems to just be free, And then the last thing we will be talking about is what we're a little late on, but we know everybody loves to talk about because it's a talking point, which is the ban list. And we're going to talk about multiple elements of that. Our predictions, our hopes, our hope nots, what we've seen in other things. We'll even talk about that shitty Master Duel ban list in a little bit, but
my goodness.
We'll get to it. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Before we kind of get into our main points, our main topics, little bit of news. We also heard about like some recent releases. One big one, actually. We've been talking about this for the longest time, about how we want just coverage from Konami or whoever distributes it based on making stories based on the archetypes, specific archetypes that we wanted, like say anime or even manga. Konami finally listened, but I don't know how people feel about this. Me personally, I feel kind of disappointed. The first series that they're gonna make is Sky Strikers. Guys, how do we feel about this?
I just feel like the World Chalice and Orcus and all that story is hella better. Or even Fire Fist has cooler lore. So many archetypes have a way cooler... The fucking Allied Justice, L-Swarm, all that shit's a cooler story. They could have picked something way better to start.
Hell, even if they did the dual terminal stories, that shit would have been cooler too.
At the end of the day, though, we have to take what we can from Konami, and at least this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Especially because we've been talking about this on the channel. I'm not sure what old-ass podcast of ours that nobody really watched you got to go back and click on, but we've said this before that it'd be cool if they just had an anime that wasn't about some fucking kid with crazy hair who's dueling in a tournament for his soul for once, and it was just actually about the monsters in the fictional world of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, make it
or
an
shit,
anthology series.
Even a series about the Egyptians actually dueling with real monsters would have been cool, But who knows? But Sky Strikers, they're just doing that. That's the bait right there because they just revealed her age. So all you nasty ass weebs out there better stop simping over Ray.
Obvious bait.
Listen, we're all nerds at the end of the day, but you weebs are out of control. All right, we let you dress up like Star Fox and make out, and that was the end. Now you got to cut it out. Leave Ray alone. All right, bro. I'm being the older brother right now. She's too young for you, bro. She didn't grow up on Casper and Spawn.
Oh my god.
She was still in school when Coco came out. So
Jeez.
Relax.
Yeah, calm down, weebs. But anyway, first official series based off of any Yu-Gi-Oh archetype coming out, I don't know, somewhere in the near future, based off of Sky Strikers is going to be their first series. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm on the same boat. Wish it would have been like World Legacy, World Chalice, that whole archetype with all of them.
Well, I mean, Gears, all that stuff, their lore,
that
like
would have
Trez
been...
brought it up last time, like their lore's hell of intense. It's like a real fucking, it's like Hamlet. It's like hella dramatic.
It would have been
depressing.
much longer in terms of like, you know, delivery and like, you know, overall like manga volume yieldage.
I guess it's still a step up from dueling on motorcycles. So
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. But
you
what
know.
are we gonna do? At least we got something. Konami's listening.
Yeah. Anyways, fuck
kind of
that noise.
Anyway, on to the main topics. Real quick. So
that could be added to Toby's list of worst Yu-Gi-Oh moments.
Yeah,
the announcement that the series will
moment.
be Sky Strikers. However, actually, I'll leave the floor to you since we're picking up there.
Okay.
Toby, what are your best and worst Yu-Gi-Oh moments? And granted, for the audience, these can be very niche. Like, even if it's like slightly related to Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's something that happened, it still counts. So bear with us on some of these stories.
So one of my best Yu-Gi-Oh moments was more along the lines of being on the way to a card shop. Me and fellow Yu-Gi-Oh producer Machuca, I mean, not much of a producer, he barely shows up, but he's still our good homie. He shows up once in a while, but you guys know him, some of you guys. Yeah, one time he picked me up. This was about maybe, I want to say, back in 2013. We were going to this card shop. He picked me up in his car. It wasn't even his car. This is like the whole, like, precursor to this story. He picked me up in someone else's car. It was a beat up ass car, and we ended up driving through this one lane that had a bunch of dips in our, like, pretty close to my neighborhood. And Machuca didn't realize this. He goes about maybe 60 on a I want to say 10 because residential, right?
It was 25 technically.
Okay,
but yeah.
25, but still he's like going maybe double,
Dipping.
triple that. But he doesn't realize there's this dip, and we end up catching like maybe 2 feet of air. It was me, his brother, and another one of our friends. And we end up just catching air. We're just like, whoa! Like, boom! Like, and we just like caught air, and like, we were just like, okay, we need to check everything, make sure the car's in one piece. Luckily, nothing fell out, but he was just like, we'll just say the guy's name is Mike, right? The guy who owned the car. He wasn't with us in the car. Machuca was just like, okay, don't tell Mike. And, like, you know, we never spoke of it again. Like, we spoke of it to other people, but we never spoke of it to Mike, you know? So, and the whole time we were just looking at each other with this, like, wonderful event that happened that we just cannot tell anyone else at that moment. But
did you guys still make it to the card shop that day?
we did. It was just, like, scary. We tried to stifle laughter the whole time we were dueling. But, yeah, it was a pretty memorable moment, kind of Yu-Gi-Oh related, more along the lines of going to a card shop to play
Well, that's
Yu-Gi-Oh.
the thing too, right? It's like anytime you're dipping in a car and have some crazy shit happen, you're always like, oh shit, that could have been hella worse.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
I'm just trying to go play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, but
So if that's one of your best moments, then
Well,
what's one of your worst?
I wanted to bring up another best moment. I guess, you know, pulling a Boral sword when it was pretty expensive from the original Saiho pack. That's pretty good. But yeah, going to my worst moments, it's pretty typical. Something that we've all kind of experienced, I guess, at one point. In the 6th grade, I had this pretty generic deck back when Yu-Gi-Oh was kind of starting to boom. This was around when Metal Raiders, I think, was the latest set. And
Old ass motherfucker.
Old ass set. This was, I think, guys
you
were...
old motherfucker, that's what I'm saying.
You guys were in 4th grade, I think, around that time. I was in 6th grade. That should give a little bit of a pretense on, like, our age gap in our group. But, yeah, in 6th grade, I was, you know, gonna go one day to bring my deck. I kind of recently bought, like, some new cards. But for some reason, I guess I left behind my Buster Blader, which was, like, left behind in a top loader. And to me, this Buster Blader was a bit special because my mom bought it for my birthday. It was like a pretty expensive card around that time. I mean, maybe not as expensive because it was an unlim, but still, it was kind of one of my favorite cards during the time. So when for some reason, I guess somewhere down the line when I went to school, someone might have like fished through my front pocket, might have swooped my deck, because by the time it was like lunchtime, it was like the first time I reached out to like play Yu-Gi-Oh, or maybe it was like first recess. I don't know. I don't know what the lunch periods are, but
Recess.
Yeah, recess, whatever the fuck. But anyway, by the time I was trying to reach out to play, I was like, hold on, I can't find my cards. I check my back pocket, I check everywhere. Fuck, I lost my deck. And like I was thinking to myself, like I did bring it. I was confident enough in myself to have like thought that I might have brought it. Someone might have fished through my deck. I don't know if any of you guys might have experienced any sort of like middle school shenanigans where someone might have rifled through your personal belongings, sort of stole a sort of set from like a collectible hobby that you might have partaken in that like everyone else did at school, whether it be Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, I don't know how much younger, Bakugan, fucking Fortnite, I guess. Who knows? But yeah, that was my experience with it. Had a whole deck stolen from me, and in consequence to that, I got grounded for it. Like my parents
Makes sense.
They weren't sympathetic to it at all. But weirdly enough, like I still had the Buster Bladers, so my mom wasn't too pissed.
I mean, that's just the minority thing, bro. My parents too, my mom, or even when when my Theo was still living with us, like if we lost shit, it was our fault, even if it got stolen, and I got the chancla for it, like I wasted all that money on you, pop, like,
yeah, exactly.
Fuck, man, I'm already upset that I lost my shit. What the fuck, mom, Like,
and I don't know, like mom and dad, if you're listening, like we had like a bullshit.
Your parents play Magic.
Yeah, exactly. Like they got so pissed off, like they're like, what if you had a Black Lotus on? No, but like. Anyway, honestly, I felt like it was kind of taken out of proportion. Mom and Dad, if you're listening, because the whole argument is that like I told them at first that like I don't know what happened. I thought I brought it to school, but I didn't. But I might have lost them in the house. But I eventually came clean and told them I did bring them to school, but I think someone might have stole them, and that was at least my truth. But my parents somehow thought I was still lying. But Mom and Dad, if you're still listening. No, I wasn't. That's all I gotta say. But
it may be 20-something years later, but
I know
I'm still bitter.
I know I am a little bit bitter, and I have told them about the channel, so they might watch this. Who knows? But
true.
Anyway, that was my worst moment. I don't know if anyone else can relate. Write it on the.
I can relate. I'll just start with one of my worst moments to go into that, and mine was even later in life, which sucked because I could have did something about it, but I noticed when it was too late, and it was like at our locals, that same locals he was driving to when Machuca decided to go all fast and furious on them. I knew most people there. Like even if I wasn't cool with them by face, I knew the regulars. I knew the people who topped all the time. I knew the people who were cool. I knew the people who were douchebags, the rage quitters, everything, right? Like you knew the archetypes. So these people, they were like some weeb guys and they were random, but I decided to trade with them. And the mistake was, and I knew this rule, but for some reason that day I was feeling a little bit more, I don't know, friendly, whatever the fuck you want to say. And I let more than one binder get looked at, which is my fault, right? And granted, in hindsight, this story is only worse because now ghost rares, even if they're not that great, have risen. And I had the Tachyon Dragon Ghost Rare and the Photon guy. I think he's like a level 9, like the pink one who also came Ghost. I had both of them Ghost at the time. And at the time, they were cheap as shit, even for their Ghost. But long story short, after trading and doing some stuff, and what's cool is that night, I still came up hella good on some trades for shit I really needed. But then when I got home, I realized the Ghost Rares were gone. And that's all they took. They could have took, like, I guess they just were like scared to steal too much. Yeah. But what's funny is it's like, I hate to make it like macho or anything, but it's funny because the guys I was trading with, I mean, granted, I'd swing at anybody who tried to steal my shit, but like they were fucking weebs, bro. If I caught them stealing, I'd have broke their hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they would have gotten stomped.
I was like, and I had all my homies there too. Like it would have been a wrap. Like just because I play Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't mean I'm a bitch, bro. Like you ain't gonna steal shit from me. We're still from the Bay, like don't run my pockets, And when I got home, I just remember being so mad because it's like all those stupid little things come in your head, like, damn, I shouldn't have put out 2 binders. Damn, I really let some weeb fucking steal from me, like, damn, I really like got, like, and I was just like, damn, bro, like, And then ever since then, I'm hella anal and hella like strict with my trades. Like, I'll tell people straight up when they take my binder, like, hey, don't take nothing out unless I say it's okay. You know, like, I'll just be like, don't touch shit. If you want something, point at it and ask me how much. That's it. You know, and I'll respect. I give the same anal rules when I look at somebody else's trade. You know, like, and
it's a fair trade.
But that's like one of my worst experiences because I couldn't do shit about it. You know, and it's
Weebs getting canceled on this podcast.
Dude, fuck weebs, bro. Like anime, but don't want.
We see you.
Anime and hentai are not synonymous.
Yeah. Ahegao sweaters. Enough of that shit. We're done.
We're done.
Stop. We don't need to be horny all the time. Just control it.
I don't judge anybody, but if your mouse pad and you're watching this has boobs right now on it, then eat shit. Just kidding. Everybody's gonna get triggered in the comments.
Yeah. If it's Goku's ass, then sure, I'll give it a pass. But
for my best moments, honestly, that's really one of the only worst experiences I have at Yu-Gi-Oh! Because like I could tell plenty of stories of seeing people rage or seeing people get salty. Like at regionals, I seen a dude get fucking owned by Cosmos one year, and he didn't even like shake his opponent's hand or sign. He just pushed his chair in hell of aggressively and like walked away, and then we all looked at the guy he was playing, and then the guy was just like, I guess he doesn't like Cosmos. Like that's all he said. But like some of my best moments that I wrote down here is regionals one year. It was actually the same year me and Abe actually got a good amount of wins, but we ended up getting like 3 losses each. And then also that year we were super unlucky because the one year we actually did decent, all the top spots were undefeated people. So it got to a point where if you weren't undefeated for the most part, you were not going to top. And so we just like hella hungry, been out there for hella hours. We were like, dude, we ain't making it any further. Let's just drop. But in that tournament, it was when I was still trolling with Evil Swarm every year and adapting it to the meta with my floodgates. I was playing Dragon Link, and I already shut down most of the extenders and big monsters of Dragon Link. Like, they couldn't make, if I went first and I had Ophion, they couldn't, get Red Eyes Darkness Metal out the deck, and a bunch of, they can use Destrudo, like a bunch of little extra things that help them make the extra annoying monsters. And so with all of my other floodgates, I had stopped a lot of this guy's shit playing Dragon Link, and I had just an Ophion field. I forget what I had engraved, but it was kind of pointless. And on field, I can't remember necessarily what I had in field, but I had 1 Elswarm monster in my hand, or 2 Elswarm monsters in my hand, and they were kind of bricks at that point because it was the vanilla and it was the Thunderbird. And I was like, fuck, like, I hope this Ophion is enough. Oh, it was just Ophion in the Infestation Pandemic. So, literally, he has, like, a couple monsters, and he knows he can't make nothing big, so he just summons hella shit to Link, and he gets all the way to a Boral Sword. And he uses Boral Sword's effect, puts my Ophion in defense. It makes the Boral Sword, like, 57 something. And then he attacks it, and then attacks me for 57. And I'm like, oh, shit, bro. Like, I gotta top deck something great, because, like, that was... I had already won game 1. And I was like, I don't want this to go to game 3 because then he's going to side even more shit. Like, I was like, I got to win. And then, long story short, I top deck Kirkion. So I summon Kirkion. Damn. And I fucking make Bahamut and pitch the other monster in my hand. And if those of you who don't know, Bahamut, he needs you to discard a monster, but he's a big eye without an attack resistance, and he's 2300. So I took the dude's Boral Sword, and the 57 plus the 23 was 8k, and I just killed his ass. And I was like, fuck you, Dragon Link, with your stupid ass free summons. I was like, get fucking wrecked. God. And then the next round, I played a Lunalight player when Lunalight first got hella good, and I completely shut that deck down. Not only do I have Evil Swarms, in that era, I was maining Anti-Spell. So, like, he couldn't do shit. And he also, for some weird reason in his build, he mained, like, Kaijus. And you can't Kaiju Ophion, so he called Judge over, because he was like, Kaiju, when I had Ophion, I was like, hey, you can't even attempt to summon. And he's like, are you sure? And he's like, because this is cost. I was like, yeah, but it affects the game state. I was like, you can't summon anything 5 or higher. I was like, you could ask Judge if you want. And he's like, all right. And he asked Judge, and then the Judge told him, and then he literally just like threw his hand down, and it was like 2 Kaijus and some bullshit. And like, he's like, well, anti-spell and that I can't play. And he was a little salty, but I was just like, it's Yu-Gi-Oh, bruh. Sorry. Like, and then the other last good Yu-Gi-Oh moment, as I'll say, is my brothers are way older than me, and they only played Magic and stuff when I was growing up, and one of my brothers still plays Magic, and But one of my brothers, he used to collect Yu-Gi-Oh when it first came out when I was a kid, just because he knew it could make money, and he'd sometimes give me cards for sets. And all these years have gone by, and a while ago when Ghost Rares and Ultis first got like unannounced in main sets, even though now they're giving us ghosts once in a while, like all the old cards started spiking. Like nowadays, like when I was in high school, I could buy a first edition LOB Blue Eyes and it wouldn't cost me thousands of dollars, like even though it was already like 10 years old almost, like and on top of that, like shit's just gone up hella much. And my brother one day, like a year or two ago, hits me up and he's just like, hey, found some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you can have them if you want. Like I was moving a bunch of my old shit, and in that random ass shit he gave me is a first edition Thousand Eyes Restrict from Pharaoh's Servant, like in pretty damn good condition. Like in my opinion, especially now that I've learned a little bit more about centering, I don't think it would get a 10, but it'd definitely get a high grade. And so like that shit's been nice because not only do I like that card, it came from my brother, so it's got a little bit of sentimental value, and it's just a nice ass card. And especially to be somebody who like sells a lot of cards and collectibles and does a lot of trading for cards and collectibles, you don't really get blessings like that where you just get gifted a card that if you got it graded, or a comic if you got it graded, would be worth a lot of money. So that's my last good Yu-Gi-Oh story. But now we're going to send it over to Abe, who he actually has plenty of funny and stupid stories he could tell you. And I know he's already laughing because he's probably thinking of the same one we're thinking he's going to tell too. But we'll just let him take it from here and see what he says.
So some good experiences, right? So like what Joe was talking about, the one year we both went 4-3 at regionals. Technically, I went 3-3, but I got a free win because one of my opponents didn't show up. So
and it was out of 9 rounds, just so people know. Like to have a winning ratio with only 2 rounds left for rogue players, that feels good. So fuck you, guy in the comment who can't prove he tops, but is gonna say he topped and that record was trash. Because a lot of you motherfuckers in the comments who have something to say, you have one thing in common. Ain't none of you have 2 things in common. Ain't none of you have channels, and you ain't no famous motherfucker who's topped. So suck my dick.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Anyway, I'm gonna be more humble. But but yeah, so we went 4-3, so that was good, because you always want to play against strangers, and what better way than in regionals. So, and like I said, I was playing Mermels, so people were caught off guard by like one time I actually attacked for I popped a couple other stuff with having infantry, usual Mermel shenanigans, and I just have Megalo and Dragoons out. Not Red Ash Dragoons, but Atlantean Dragoons, and I already beefed up the Megalo with the field spell, or not the field spell, the equip spell. So it was 8,200 direct, and the guy was just like, "Oh shit!" And that was fun. I remember the guy next to him was like, "Oh yeah, they do that, bro." He's like, "Oh okay," and yeah, so it was hella funny. So I'm proud of that. It's a casual, feels good.
Yeah, I mean Mermels are pretty cards, bro. Best artwork in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, but anyway, so also another thing, I won't say his name because probably some people will know him if you played here in the Bay Area.
Give us
a guy,
at least a pseudonym, like a fake name.
Carl. It has
Carl.
to be something really
call him Carl
from his name.
Yeah.
Okay. Carl. I remember one time when the card shop was still open. It was me, Francisco, and one of our other friends, Rez, when he used to play Yu-Gi-Oh. We actually went into a locals, or we played locals, and I was playing Hazy Flame. Rez was playing some zombie stuff or something. I forgot exactly what he was playing.
Rez always plays a deck with every solemn he can possibly run. That's what Rez plays.
But then and then Francisco, to troll, because he doesn't really care, he was playing Malefics, and he played against Carl, and Carl got triggered. That's all I'm gonna say. He got triggered. Also, some other good memories. Good old days back in the day when we used to play back at Franny's house in the back, or little back house we used to call it. Little casita. Back in the days, fresh out of high school, no responsibilities. Fuck it. Those were the good days. And also a last good experience being part of YugiBOOM.
Oh. Of course.
Okay, now some bad experiences. But anyway, some bad experiences. I always talk about this, but did a Sky Striker guy cheat on me? We don't know. We'll never know. But I feel like he did. That happened at the same regionals where I went 4-3. That was one of my 3 losses. some guy, I remember at C&J's, we'd walk in, we're like, going to look at the Yu-Gi-Oh product, and some guy's like, oh wait, what game do you guys play? We're like, we play Yu-Gi-Oh, and he's like, all right, well, you're gonna get all those cards and you're gonna throw them in the trash. And we're just like what the fuck? No, dude, like, he's just like, no, but like, Yu-Gi-Oh sucks and that, and we're like, all right, dude, whatever, just get the fuck away, dude.
I wish I was there because I would have been like, you know what? I'd throw away your personality because it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just being an asshole.
Look, I like Magic and Pokemon. I'm not one of those Yu-Gi-Oh players who like thinks things suck, but like sometimes at our shop specifically, we had pretentious Magic players who would like they'd get fucking mad even though they knew a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament was on that day. They'd get mad that there was no place for them to sit because they wanted to get a couple games in like while our Yu-Gi-Oh tournament was going on. Because their Magic tournaments wouldn't pull that many people, so when they had their Magic tournaments, there were still free tables for Yu-Gi-Oh players to play on. So they'd get hella salty, like, oh, and so yeah, they were all hella cringe like that. Goes back to that whole weep thing. Some of the fuckers just don't know how to talk to people, man.
No,
it's like, dude, just like we both like anime, like we both like a lot of the same things. Why you gotta make shit weird? Like
Hashtag weeb cancellation. I'm just kidding.
God.
And then the other thing was, I won't mention his name because I don't know if he still plays now, but back in the day he was a pretty good player. He did top of YCS a long time ago. Won't say his name, but I remember one time, like, this is when I first was getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh, so I didn't have too many like tradable cards,
yeah.
And like I had one that was like maybe $20, right? And like to me at the time I was like, oh man, like I want $20 for it, I'm not trying to get rid of it for anything less, if I can get more, cool, but anything less, not, right? And he was like getting hella mad because I wouldn't trade him. Like he's like, oh, that's hella much, man. Like you should like go down like instead of like 20, he wanted it for like $9. I was like, the fuck, $9? I was just like, nah, bruh. Yeah, it was just like, nah, bruh. Like,
It's a big
fuck
markdown.
no.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
I know, right?
$11.
I know, right? But I was like, whatever. And I'm like, right, then just don't get it from me. Then just get it from somebody else. So that was that. And then also I always, like I said, I always mention this story too. When at the regionals, I don't know if it was the same regionals. I think it was a different regionals.
No,
I
it
think
was
it
the
was the
Blue Eyes
Blackwing
for
one.
Yeah, it was the Blue Eyes format regional.
Yeah, and then there was a Salaman Great was new. Like literally just came out that weekend. The structure deck just came out that Friday before.
So
And
it was
there's
little
a
bit
guy
after
next
the
to
Blue
me.
Eyes, yeah.
Yeah. So it was the guy next to me was playing Salmon Great. The other guy was playing, I think he was playing Paleo, because he tried to activate a Paleo trap to get rid of one of his Salmon Great monsters. But the guy activated Circle to protect it, and Circle says it's unaffected by monster effects, but it's by a trap effect. And the guy was like, he's like, because the Paleo guy didn't know that what it did because it was brand new. And the Salmon Gray was just like, "Oh yeah, it protects it from like whatever." And the guy's like, "Oh okay," and he just scoops it up because I guess that was like his only play. And I was just like I wanted to say something like, "Bruh, that's monster effects, not trap effects." But I was like,
But you can't say
"Whatever."
anything.
Yeah, I can't say anything. So, and I'm looking at my little notes here. And also the last bad experience when I tried to play Black Wings at a regionals, but the judge ruled that Simone does not work like true Dracos, so I couldn't get the extra normal summon. So I made my deck basically useless.
But that ended up not being true. Because we've had
Yeah,
comments before, even from some guy who commented, said he was a judge, and it's been said that Simone does give you that additional summon. So that judge was just smoking crack.
Wow,
Like,
that's wild.
Yeah,
it
that's why
sucks,
I
man.
asked beforehand before we started the regionals because I knew some people was gonna know about it, but I knew other people weren't. So I was like, I might as well just ask him about it because he might remember. Because who's gonna be the only person playing Black Wings, right?
Yeah.
So I asked the judge, and the head judge was like, "No, it doesn't work." And I was just like, "Well, that sucks," But it is what it is. I just went 0-3 drop, but whatever. But yeah, that's it for my bad experiences. What's gonna be the
Fucking
next
Yu-Gi-Oh,
topic?
Well, next we're going into archetypes that we want support for, and we're only gonna pick 2 archetypes each, or only one if we only had one, and we're gonna give specific things, at least a couple specific things of what we feel they need or could actually use. Does anybody want to take over on this? Excuse me.
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so because of me, I love my mermails. So obviously, mermails they're gonna need new support.
Just cut ours.
So I'm gonna say we need a new level 7. I know we got the link and stuff, but she's good, cool. But we need is a new main deck monster. Not like some little other monster that we got, Abyss Array or whatever it was called. Yeah, she's whack. We need a new level 7, and I thought about this really hard. So yeah, this is what it's gonna do. It's a level 7. It's gonna be like Megalo. So discard 2 water monsters, and when summoned, and these 2 effects that I picked, they could be interchangeable, but what it is what it is. But I put when summoned, shuffle 1 card on the field to the deck, does not target, and then tribute an attack position water monster, negate the effects of 1 card in the field. Also doesn't target. That'd be broken. This effect will be better if it was a quick effect. So usually like Megalo, it has like when it's summoned, you could add the Bespell and Trap, and then if you tribute an attack position monster, it can attack twice. So like with this one, I call it Mermail Shamu, like Shamu from like SeaWorld.
Just a
So it's gonna be a big ass killer whale.
Because they have that one whale that sucks that nobody uses.
Yeah, Bisbalin, he's whack. He's a sperm whale. We don't want him, or humpback.
They don't have a killer whale yet, so that'll be interesting.
Exactly. So he's just a
the
big
only
ass
killer
whale
card is that stupid one with like the carrier thing on its back.
Oh yeah.
That was way
yeah, he don't
before
count
Mermail.
though.
I know he's not a Mermail. That's a good
But yeah.
card though. I mean, that's not
Mermail
that's not like
Shamu.
super broken either though. Like that's like a reasonable card request.
Exactly. And I was gonna say that he should look like, I don't know if you guys watch My Hero, but he looks like Gang Orca from My Hero. Kind of looks like that guy. That'd be kind of crazy.
And
And also he has to have 2800 attack.
something a little beefier, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes Megalo, like, yeah, he's cool and all, but he's only 24, and sometimes it's like, I need like that extra.
Even like
bit,
27 would make a difference, like.
I feel like 28 is kind of like a nice medium.
Yeah, because you can't really make a level 7 3K.
Yeah.
So like I get it, but yeah. And then I know your second one would be an aforementioned deck, right?
Well, I have a second card for the Mermail. So another equip, if they add a new equip spell. Usually I like to use the Mizuchi, which is like for spell negate. But the new equip can be when an effect of a card that is in the graveyard, or if it's banished resolves, negate that effect.
Yeah, just like a free extra type of negation.
That'd be a cool one to have. A new equip spell,
Yeah, especially giving them another negate that's not as simple as like, oh, we have a spell negate, now give us a monster or a trap negate. It'd be like a little bit more niche, but also usable in today's meta. Like, you could not run Ghost Spell because you have that card, or something like that. That'd be smart. Yeah, that's actually a really good choice. It's making my choices seem kind of fucking dumb now, actually.
But anyway, so the second archetype I thought could use some support is Hazy Flame. So for this one, it's a level 4, so that way it's easier to summon. The thing about Hazy Flame, sometimes it's hard to summon them because they're level 6, unless you have the pillar, but you don't always have the pillar sometimes. And also, there's not really a way to search them without the Cerberus. So this one's a level 4, and its effect would be summons a Hazy Flame from hand or grave, and if you do, increase this card's level by 2. So that way it's like they're both 6s. And it has to summon a Hazy Flame, because if not, I think it'd be too broken. And also that way they're both level 6s, so it just ranks up. It just ranks hella easily, Also, the other thing I put was, instead of increase its level by 2, you can make same level as the monster summon, because it'll make it like better XE plays. And if Konami wants to introduce other levels to Hazy Flame, like if they, besides 6s, they do make 4s, like you can summon another Hazy Flame 4 and just make a rank 4 like that, So there's that, and also like some stipulations for this card. Has to have the same protection as Hazy Flames. So like with Hazy Flames, it can be targeted by card effects. Pretty broken. And also the other thing is it has to have 1900 attack and 200 defense for a rekindling target.
Oh, or like the Flame Veil Trap, Counter Trap, and stuff like that deck could utilize back in the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
So and then for the last card for Hazy Flames, they need a new spell. Probably a continuous spell, not a field. But its effect would be once per turn, you add a Hazy Flame card, just a card, and then you discard one card. So, and I think it should also have like this, like since it's a hazy card, it should be like the hazy flame monsters. Can't be targeted by card effects if a hazy flame monster is on the field or grave. So, give it. So it's not just like, like too broken. Also, like its second effect, it could be like a little pot of like avarice. Banish from grave, shuffle 3 Hazy Flame cards into the deck, draw 1 card. And the thing that would be will make it better is if it says them because instead of targets. So if it says shuffle those targets into the deck, if like let's say your opponent called by the grave one of them, you can't shuffle them back. But if it says shuffle them into the deck, and then they call by the grave one of your monsters, you can still shuffle the other 2 and still draw a card. So that's a little ruling knowledge I learned. So like I said, that way it can still resolve. And also should have another effect, kind of like the Hazy Pillar. It should let you summon Hazy Flame monsters for 1 less tribute, like Hazy Pillar. Because obviously, even though let's say they do introduce a new level 4, they're still going to be held level 6s. So, just to make it easier. Yeah, those are my 2 archetypes that wish got some more support.
Those are some pretty good choices. You definitely went in, because for those of you watching, when we were prepping for this podcast, I gave like 2 shitty examples I wasn't going to use, like make Naturia's if effects instead of whens, or like make ice barriers actually good somehow, things like that. But
that'll never happen.
For sure. Toby, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I actually thought of like a second one, just kind of out of the blue, just a little bit, kind of.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, a brief skim through on that one. Nothing really too specific, but a kind of card that would complement it. But before we get into that second one, the first deck that I at least wanted some minimal support. The thing is that Shiranui's has been getting some recent support, but it's been like sort of interchangeable, or at least like splashable with like Mayakashi specific, I've noticed. And honestly, I would want some more actual Shiranui support. Maybe in the form of a card that treats itself as Shiranui style synthesis. I don't know, something that gives us like a plus in our hand or something. Or like maybe banish 1 card from your hand and then draw 1 from the deck. Or hell, even select 2 monsters from your hand. Show them to your opponent selects 1, banish the other one, and the other one you get to special summon, and then you get like, a banishing effect to go along with it, or something like that. So that way, I feel like something that's kind of underutilized in the deck, because of the fact that we have lack of options for like a good Shiranui style synthesis card. Shiranui Solitaire is very underutilized in that deck. I feel like, if we get like the banish or the summon 2 monsters from your banish pile like effect more often, then like, Shiranui's would be a bit more of a powerhouse deck when it comes to like, bringing monsters on the field with its effect, or like, just being able to, get pluses off of your plays via Shiranui style synthesis or something like that. Like,
yeah,
make the deck fully usable. Don't make it like a zombie specific or zombie generic deck, in which like there's nothing wrong with that, but like we just at least need some sort of means of making like at least like a pure deck,
Well, that's what sucks about those newer zombie archetypes,
Mm-hmm.
like Mayakashi, Shiranui, especially Mayakashi because of the whole restriction they have for the extra deck. But it's like, with the exception of Balderoche and that deck that actually fit into the generic zombie deck, is what's been the most awesome part about zombie decks. The fact that you're pretty recurring and annoying, and the fact that in most normal zombie decks, you can make a Beals or a Crystal Wing, and as long as you made it correctly, if it dies because of your zombie world, you can Mizuki that shit back the next turn.
Yeah.
And that's why like Shiranui and Mayakashi kind of suck when it comes to that comparison, because you can't do that.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
like you can't really run all that generic shit. You have to, and then Shiranui obviously isn't as much, because Shiranui you can make a generic zombie world deck because it doesn't have the extra deck restrictions that Mayakashi does, but it still has the shitty part where everything that's good in your Shiranui deck has to be summoned, like hard summoned. Like you got to normal a Solitaire, or normal a unit to get the Unizombie, or normal that one chick, who summons the Spectral Sword from the deck. And it's like the second that gets Veilered or Ashed, you're done. Which is like But to your point, if you added a monster who had that like Blue Eyes alternative type effect, like reveal him, they get to banish, and then you summon, at least that's a free summon with a couple effects popping off. And then if they stop that first initial synchro play with some hand traps or a solemn, at least you could still normal and then go again, you know? Like,
and better yet, if like that monster's effect like triggered off of normal and special summon, because we have a lot of monsters that only activate off of normal summon. So if we had like a sort of extender, that would be kind of nice.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, with the Shiranui style synthesis, make it like, I guess, like a continuous card, so that way if we wanted to splash like, you know, generic zombies, we'd still have like the zombie world option complete, like, you know, for our field. We wouldn't have to sacrifice, you know, a field spell, you know, just for the sake of running like a generic, or not a generic, but like a Shiranui specific card, you know what I mean? But that's for Shiranui's. Another one that I just kind of thought of just for fun, just kind of a brief thing, one deck that I haven't really heard of in a while is Fire Kings. I remember running that on Dual Network back in the day and actually murking people with just like a Fire Kings no extra deck you know, deck, which was kind of fun, and I had a lot of
that Arvada was hella annoying when he first came out.
Exactly.
It wasn't like called by and shit to get rid of reoccurring annoying ass monsters like that from the graveyard. Like,
not to mention fucking Yaksha extending those plays.
Plus that elephant, that elephant's a sleeper.
Yeah,
he negates a monster effect and then pops something in your hand.
But
so like,
I feel like something that would be pretty cool if we somehow had Fire Kings back. Maybe a link, because they do need, you know, some extra deck support.
If they got generic. A link, because they already struggle to get multiple monsters on board in the same turn at least, they need something which a lot of what I'm going to talk about for my archetypes need is just older decks just need free summons, like a lot of new decks have. Like,
that'd be cool.
What holds back a lot of our decks is they need to normal summon, or they need a spell to special summon,
or at least the special summon from the deck, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that. So, like, I was kind of thinking, maybe, like, a new Garunix card, Link 2, maybe something that'll, not only nuke the field, but since they had another card that had a gimmick of destroying a monster, or destroying a card from hand, maybe have it to where when it's special summoned, it nukes the field, and then, destroys a card from the deck. And maybe you can, you know, sort of have Garunix as like a target, and so that just makes it a whole lot better. Garunix comes back next standby phase, nukes the field again, or like just have like a whole setup, Garunix Nephthys, or whatever fucking, you know, Fire King you're gonna play in your build. But as long as we have maybe like an extra deck support for that, because it'd be nice. I haven't seen Fire Kings in a while.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
Last time I seen Fire Kings was when people were getting really creative with Fire Fist.
Oh yeah, that too.
I mean, I run a couple Fire Kings. I have a Nephthys deck, the ritual with a couple of the old Nephthys monsters, and I run Garudix because I run the original Nephthys too, and in that deck I can actually get them off for multiple reasons, and they have multiple uses. I can even search Fire King because of my Nephthys link. I can add any level 8 winged beast, so I use a little bit of Fire Kings. I guess that's the closest you'll come to seeing Fire Kings used. But they're literally used as ritual fodder with the occasional actual summon of the elephant or Garudix, you know?
Yeah.
That's interesting, though. That's a pretty good choice, too, because Fire King's hella old.
Yeah.
Mine are old, too. Both mine are old choices as well. For my first one, so I have a couple ideas that would help both the archetypes, just like you guys did, or like Abe gave kind of specific. I'll give a little bit of specifics too. So my first one is for Glad Beasts. So before everybody gets all up in arms, the 30 of you who are watching, I know Glad Beasts got support, and don't get me wrong, some of their support was amazing. Like, the spells were great. A couple of the monsters are pretty decent in theory, and also the extra deck monsters were amazing. Test Panther, he has a couple problems that I'll get to later, but he's still good, and the fusions are amazing. Like, they gave us another negate, and they gave us a dude who summons any of the fusions for free. You know, like, that's awesome. And like I said, some of the spells and traps that came out are ass, but they gave us a Banish from the Grave to fuse a Glad Beast spell. They gave us a free summon, a Monster Reborn / summon from hand spell, and then they gave us a we can't be targeted except for the battle phase continuous. So their spells and all that were good. But however, and I understand the gimmicks of Glads is shuffling back in the deck at the end of the battle phase, like, you know, just like Madolche's gimmick is shuffling back in the deck, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
However, I still feel like Glad Beast should have something or get a new Glad Beast monster that's not contingent, at least for his first effect, not contingent on that gimmick. Because what sucks in Glad Beast, even with the new support, you're almost 100% forced to go second, and then on top of that, like we dueled earlier, actually, like you don't really have anything. Like the most you could do is make one negate, which is cool. Some decks can't even do that. But it's the fact that like you're seriously only hindered because you can't even attack going first, you know? And what I think they need for the first thing is I feel like Glads need a monster. They need two monsters. One monster is a monster that's a Glad that's not reliant on the battle phase. So I don't, that could mean normal summon him and summon a Glad, or search a Glad card, you know, not Glad monster, because then you could search comeback and actually summon something else from your hand, you know, or, you know, have this might be too broken, but one of the things I thought about is kind of like a Prisma type effect for a Glad Beast. Like when this Glad Beast is normal summoned, send a Glad Beast to the deck and he becomes that Glad Beast's like effect and or name or some shit to the turn, you know, like, okay, and then this way at least it's an extra thing, and then he summons one when he or some shit, you know. And then the other monster I think they need is like a new Test Tiger, because like Test Panther was the link that kind of does what Test Tiger does. Like first it searches, which is awesome, and then it shuffles back and summons as if it was a Glad Beast. But what sucks about Test Panther and Test Tiger is they're not Gladiator Beast cards, so when they're on field they're useless for anything else, and then also when they're in graveyard they're not recyclable. Like, you know, that's what kind of sucks about them. Like if Test Tiger was Gladiator Beast Test Tiger, then in a later turn you could fucking do other shit with him, you know? Like it's just stupid. Like, or
at least if it read on like the flavor text
that this is like, always a Glad Beast card.
Yeah,
even that counts, right? And then the other thing that I thought that the Glad Beast could use was some sort of better way to add their traps and make a better trap, because they have like their old other counter traps that require discarding and shit, so they suck. And then there's War Chariot, which is really good, but it's only monster effects. So like maybe not an Omni Negate, but they should probably get another counter trap or another card that sets their spell and traps easier from the deck, because you're not going to waste your Glad Beast searches on getting War Chariot anymore. You'd rather just get your fusions and get your board going. So I feel like if Glad Beast had more free stuff that wasn't contingent on the battle phase, they'd be a lot better. And that's pretty much all I was able to think of for them, you know. And they don't even really need new extra deck monsters, because if it's just easier to make a board for us, we could just summon the Vespius or whatever his name is and Heraclinos and have a monster and spell negate. Because like, to give you guys context, earlier I was dueling this asshole, and like I did whatever I could with fucking shitty ass Glad Beast, and I made my monster negate, and he just fucking had Regeki already in his hand, and it was over. And in my head I was like, maybe I should make Heraclinos. I was like, but his spells aren't the important thing. He's playing Inzectors. I should make the monster negate. And that was a big mistake. So he just read Geki and then went off with Dragonfly anyways. So I know that's a niche reason to need it, but it's like something I've noticed in Glad Beast.
And also, even bigger mistake, fucking Inzectors do use spells.
Yeah. True.
But anyway. New one.
But like, the second thing I thought of, which I also have a couple ideas for, is my Evil Swarms. And yes, Evil Swarm got that link, but he's pretty ass, and you're never really going to waste the time to make him. He is a little bit decent now against just link decks because of Master Rule 5, but like, other than that, he wasn't that great of support. So what I think Evil Swarms need is more summoning capabilities, kind of like the Glad Beast, like more normal summoning capabilities, even if it's not a special summoning. Although it would be nice if they could get some more special summoning for Evil Swarm. But specifically, one thing I was thinking is either a field spell or a continuous spell that's an L Swarm spell or trap, obviously, so it's searchable by Ophion and other things. And it should have something along the lines of the effect where like you get an additional normal summon on top of it for having an Elsworm. I took it a little further, but I think it's a little too OP in hindsight, which is like, depending on how many Elsworms you control with different names, you get that many normal summons -1. So like, if you had 3 Elsworms on field with different names, you could normal summon 2 more times that turn. Or if you had 2 Elsworms with different names on the field, you could normal summon 1 more time that turn. You know? Like, obviously, it can only be once per turn, making it the name so it's a hard once per turn. Like I said, I don't know if that would be too broken, but I feel like it wouldn't if we didn't get new monsters. But what would make it more broken is if we get the second thing I'm asking for, which is a monster who summons from grave or hand. Like, I know their gimmick is normal summoning, but if we can get an Elsworm that's a level 4, I would also want them to keep what I love about Elsworm is that they're all different types, so make him viable while you have TC Boo on the field. Like, we still don't have a Psychic Elsworm.
Cybers.
Yeah, we don't have a Cybers Elsworm. There is a Plat Mandragora, but there's no, like, there's a couple others I thought of the other day that we still don't have a typing for. Like, I know we have, like, Rock, Spellcaster, Warrior, Fiend, Dragon, a bunch of other kinds, right? But like, there's plenty of other Elsworms they could be. And then the other thing is their own floodgate or protection besides the quick play spell. Like, maybe more of like a generic protection, like their own Elsworm who's an Omni negate or a quick effect negate at least. And if not that, like I said, like their own floodgate that searches like maybe like a pseudo Elsworm D barrier where it's like, your opponent can only exceed for the rest of the turn, or your opponent can't make any extra deck monster that you don't control for the turn or something, so they can only exceed, like kind of the same effect, you know what I mean? Like, just some sort of floodgate, because that's how they've been forced to made. So like, if Konami's paying attention to the game, even though nobody really plays Evil Swarm besides me anymore, like, you could see like, oh, that deck, we intended it to do one thing, but people made it this, so let's give it support for that, you know? And but pretty much at the end of the day, even though I gave specific like monster spell trap ideas, like just more summoning capabilities, whether it be facilitating their normal summoning, and then like the last thing I also had put for them before was just some sort of better draw power for them. Maybe an Elsworm spell just so it's all searchable with Ophion and stuff, because what would be nice is instead of always searching for your protection with Ophion, like if you had other monsters and more extenders or plays to go into, you could make Ophion search one of these other spells, play it, go off further, then make another exceed that protects Ophion anyways, or does some sort of interruption, and then you got your back row too, you know? And that's pretty much all I was able to think of, but I feel like those things alone would make the deck more annoying and actually a little bit more consistent. And then you might not even really need to run Rescue Rabbit anymore, like if you actually had good Elsworms that, besides Caster, you know, because Kirkion only comes in handy late game, which with a deck like that, you're not hoping it to get to late game. So
would that end up eliminating like the need for something like Rescue Rabbit, or like would you?
Well, like I say, Rescue Rabbit wouldn't be so much as a necessity to get like a easy body on board, you know? Because
be a plus, I bet, but
yeah, exactly. So, but with that, talking about fictional cards, now we get to talk about real cards, or more importantly, should those cards be playable, which is the ban list, which should be coming this month.
Speculation time.
But should be coming this month technically, right? But they did say technically, like, there's no
They didn't
real
put a date.
Yeah, but I remember hearing something about like it's been on the average amount of months already, right? Where
It's already been 3 months.
Yeah, so.
But before we get into that, let's give some time to at least thank our viewers.
Yeah.
You know, as we're kind of winding down on the podcast before we sort of go into the last topic and shove on off. This has been the YugiBOOM Podcast you guys are watching right now. Be sure to follow us on our social medias, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those places. We are pretty active on Twitter. We like to comment a lot. Even, you know, just on our own separate accounts. Joe's pretty active on his account. He's labeled under, like, you know, YugiBOOM. And, of course, like, you know, Abe is running the main account as well. And we're also pretty active on the comments, you know. If
we try to get back to all of you.
Exactly.
You know, even for a smaller channel, we do get a lot of comments, and we appreciate them. And all jokes aside, we love everybody. No matter where you come from, whatever your background is, we appreciate every single fan. Yu-Gi-Oh brings all walks of life together, you know. We're a little bit more of the casual, jokey side of the game. But, you know, at the end of the day, we want everybody to have fun. We still have fun playing this stupid-ass game. So, you know, like, we appreciate every single one of you watching this video, liking, giving us your feedback in the comments, giving us your opinions, because that's part of the reason we do these discussions. We want to hear what other people like us feel about this shit, you know?
And honestly, if we really had the option, you know, if this was like a more face-to-face basis with like a lot of you guys, we'd love to have a powwow with y'all and, you know, talk. You know,
we're trying to get a Discord up for you guys soon to just shoot the shit with us and like ask us questions, you know, especially if you're more of the casual player looking for budget options, you're still playing physically with your friends, you know, like things like that.
Exactly. So just wanted to give a little bit of thanks and like shout outs to those social medias. Be sure to check out our links down below. We have a TCG player affiliate link. Guys, if you are buying cards, support the channel. Go to that link. It helps out anyway. You know, helps out the channel. You know, so check it out. All those things. But anyway, back to our last and final topic. Small Banlist speculation. Let's kind of sort of collect our thoughts a little bit and let's just see you know, where this ban list is going to take us. So Joe, any thoughts on, you know,
well, first of all, I think we'll do it a little different. Instead of every person giving all three of the points, we'll go with the three main things I think we're all going to talk about, which is let's get this one out the way, because we're not really focused on that too much.
Okay.
We are aware the Master Duel ban list was trash. We're not going to talk too much about that. It sucks. Obviously, it didn't change shit. You could still get Rongo Bongoed. Like, all this dub shit. Like, so whatever. Fuck that shit. Like, we're going to talk about the TCG ban list. With that being said, everybody's going to talk about what they hope needs to get banned. Everybody's going to talk about what they know needs to get banned, even if we like playing the card. And then we're all going to talk about the dumb shit they might hit. So, with that being said, I'll go first. Let's just talk about what we hope gets banned. Obviously, me and Abe are on the same in this, like, not to cut off and jump to his point, but I know, even though I like the card, because I use it like a scumbag in some decks, Scythe, bye-bye. You gotta go. Like, Scythe, it's just too easy, especially with nowadays, like, you know, like, you don't even have to hit any of the other artifacts or the trap. Like, if you get rid of Scythe, it's not going to be as oppressive, you know? Like, just instantly. Besides Scythe, I'll pretty much talk about that in my necessary category. Honestly, it's a little cheating about what else I kind of hope needs to get banned, because the only other niche thing I'll say needs to get banned or limited or hit is just because it's my own experience, not really knowing how to play against the deck yet. I definitely think a lot of the new, like, free Despia, Brave Engine, stuff like that, I'm more of, like, shout out Paul and Team APS, even though he doesn't know us, but, like, he said something recently, like, he's more of a fan of decks getting slapped on the wrist rather than completely destroyed. And me, my personal opinion on banning, like, any games I play, whether it's, like, WoW or, like, a card game or something like that, I don't really like nerfs. I like just buffing everything else, but obviously in a card game, you can't really do that as easy. So I do like the sentiment of just slapping things a little so they don't get out of hand. So, like, Brave Engine and a lot of the things that are running around right now, like, I don't think they should get destroyed, but they should definitely get slapped on the wrist a little. And that will also help their cards go down a little, make them a little bit easier for everybody to play, blah, blah, blah. And then for my hopes, obviously I have three crackhead hopes that probably aren't going to happen. Number one, what I said last time, I want Colossus back, at least to one. Like,
oh God,
there's so many broken cards. Like, I don't understand how Colossus is that bad. Like, I know he's hella free to summon, but, like, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I know you hate this, Abe. Secondly, I'm on Team Sam's hype. I've been saying this even before Master Duel. Like, Maxi needs to come back at least to 2. Like, Maxi's just great, you know? Take the challenge or don't. Like, it's all it is, you know? Like, and then my last hope, which is really niche and, like I said, is not going to happen, but I bring up Goyo Guardian as a reference because he got an errata that was, like, what was required to make him. I would like Danglong to get errata to require at least a Worm or a Yang Zing as his monsters, and he wouldn't be so splashable and, like, dinos and shit, and wouldn't be hella broken and let everybody make Zolkin,
so
you know? He would only let Yang Zings and Tenyis and Sword Soul make Zolkin, and at least that's limiting him to a certain... And then if you make him Yang Zing specific, bam, you eliminate hella other shit. you know,
true,
at least easily. And that's it for my hopes. What are your hopes for the ban list?
Me, it's just more along the lines of like, I'm just like
Balancing?
Sure, balance it out, because like this is kind of crazy as hell right now. Like skill drain obviously is like very overpowered at 3.
That card's amazing, but it is hella busted.
Oh
like,
my god, like being skill drained by like a Blue Eyes deck is like pretty funny. But like,
then being skill drained by Eldritch, it just hurts the soul. Like,
so I feel like just having sort of skill drain at least to 1
again, it goes
you know?
I mean, they've done it before.
Or, you know what? You know what? I'll give it to people who want to use skill drain in their decks too. Sure. I feel like 3 is like maybe too much, but like, you know, at least give them like a means, like, you know, we have more than a means of popping shit anyway, you know. So why the fuck not? I mean, we have Feather Duster back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but then they have Judgment and all that stuff, so it's like...
Yeah, exactly. So
true.
And then, you know, I was kind of on like the same page as Joe when it came to Max C. Are we gonna follow like, I mean, sure, we don't care about like Master Duel, but like at some point is like the main TCG, like the actual physical TCG, gonna line up with Master Duel at some point? Or,
I don't think so, no.
I guess not, you know, just to make it easier for a lot of like the newer people playing Master Duel, but that's a complete other story that we're not gonna get into. But yeah, it's all just like a lot of like cards that are just wow, you know?
Yeah. All right, Abe, what are your hopes?
Well, I'm gonna say yes, Scythe banned, and obviously Verte should get banned too. You know, I've been keeping up a lot with the YCSs lately and regionals, especially with the Albast strike that just came out time of this recording. Just everything has just been branded Despia, or like,
Yeah, and see, that's that
you know,
bullshit too,
branded
because when that
something.
was Zoo, they butchered Zoo to the ground. Like, but I bet you because of their new co-money habits, like, Despia ain't gonna get touched, or branded it, all that shit's not gonna get touched. But like I said, remember when Zoo on one of those YCS, like 30 out of 32 spots was Zoo something, and even like 10 of them was pure Zoo, and then it was like one Lightsworn guy and something else hella random that were the other 2 spots, like Pendulum. It was like Pendulum and Lightsworn, like some lucky ass fucker, because Grass is Greener was a thing, you know, like it was like a 60 card Lightsworn deck that some random ass mad lad topped with. But like, yeah, so I agree, that's a good hope, honestly. And like you said, you've seen the big changes. What are your other hopes?
Yeah.
Is that pretty much it for your hopes? Because like I said, we're going to get into the absolutely necessary category too, which could still include some of your hopes, but
I mean, it's just more like, you know, like I said, I've been keeping up with those YCS and regionals. The person who won Guadalajara, he played branded Despia, but he didn't play no DPE, no Dragoon, no Brave. He topped without all those 3. And a lot of the other decks obviously are playing DPE or
he probably
Brave.
bricked less, ironically, you know, like just coincidentally, because the core is good enough. So maybe he just won the ratio battle. Like, they wouldn't draw the right shit. Like, he'd run into that motherfucker who drew Celestial. You know, it had 2 dead Fusion Destiny.
Yeah, and it was Andres Torres, and now he's a 5-time YCS champ, so he's a really good player.
Shout
so
out. Good shit.
Yeah.
Especially my family's hometown, Guadalajara. All right, let's go.
But yeah, so like it's, you know, like I said, it's just crazy that now like there's hella branded Despia, like Fusion is now a thing again, and it's just like, you know, obviously they're not gonna hit. I feel like they're not gonna hit anything Fusion based. Super Poly's still a card, you know, Verte's running around. So, like I said, we don't know what could get hit at this point because they are reprinting a Luber in the Ghost from the Past, so they're not gonna hit that card.
Well, see,
you know, and
now we're gonna get into our talking point of the necessary versus the hope they don't, because those two go in together. And like I said, they also kind of go hand in hand with our hopes. So it's like, for me, I didn't put Verte on my hopes because I put him on my necessary. And let me say this, I love Verte. I use him in like 3-4 decks, but he's busted, and he's the reason why, what you've heard my gripe as more of a rogue player is a lot, archetype specific cards get banned when they're generic, is because of extra cards like him who enable it way too generically on top of how generic it already is. Because if there was no Verte, you could still run DPE in any deck because Fusion Destiny itself is a broken card, right? However, you're making hero players suffer because it's extra generic to where any deck that can just summon 2 monsters easy at the end of their play can just Verte Fusion Destiny, bam. You know what I mean? Like, now I have this whole broken board with an additional interruption I normally wouldn't have. And like, Verte is also same reason why Dragoons was supposed to help Red Eyes and actually give Red Eyes a good card, even though their fusion card sucks balls. But Verte also bypasses the restriction because of its wording on Red Eyes Fusion. So it's like, there's another reason why it's out of pocket. And like, also going into my hopes is the necessary is just a balancing of other archetypes that are really splashable. You know, like if Zoo can get punished so hard for being so splashable in so many decks, then we should learn from that and take precedent. And instead of killing it completely, going back to what I already said, just spank them a little bit, give them a little bit slower, make them still good if you draw them and you don't brick like the extra pieces, but make it to where like, you know, it's not so simple as like, oh, I drew multiple, but this card's not a hard once per turn, and I have another one in my deck, like I'm good, you know, like that's the thing. It's just like, but with that being said, my hopes they don't is what we've seen a lot in the past. Instead of banning the problem card, they ban what the problem card makes easier. And it's like, I know it hasn't happened yet, but I could just see Dragoons getting banned, or DPE getting banned, or Fusion Destiny getting limited down to 1, and like these decks that finally got a good ass card suffer because some other generic shit won't get hit and get cut out of every other deck. Like, call me a simple man, but like DPE shouldn't be summonable in a non-hero deck. Like, you know, it just sucks that that's the case, you know, for a lot of decks, and Heroes isn't just the only one who suffers from that. And so like, you know, like I said, those are my hopes they don't mainly. Or it's like, for Scythe, we want Scythe to be banned, but I could see them just like limiting the trap instead or something, you know, like doing something that's really not, because like some people, like in my hero deck, I don't even run the trap. I just main deck the Scythe, and if I open it, it's a wrap. Like, I could just fucking set Scythe, make DPE, and even though I can't make multiple negates, summoning a Scythe and restricting the extra deck is pretty fucking good enough to shut down most decks, you know, like, you know, unless that UTC gets dropped on you, but like, even then you pop with DPE. Like, it's like so many different things you can do. And so I just hope they don't hit something that's irrelevant, or they don't bring back cards. And I know Abe's going to talk about this a little, so I'll mainly say him, but I'll let him say it. But I also want them to make the ban list make more sense. Like, you know, we have Harpy's Feather Duster, so other cards can come off. Or like how it took Regeki hella long to be at 3 when like, and Darkhole to be at 3 when there's like Lightning Storm and shit. You know what I mean? Like, all that shit's stupid. But what are your hopes and or what are your like necessaries and hopes they don'ts?
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna end up like beating anyone to the punch on this, but maybe like I guess Halkifibrax, because I feel like with like
that's a good one. I missed that. I forgot about him completely.
I feel like with a lot of cards coming out, like being hella generic, I feel like that just opens like a lot of floodgates for like, you know, being able to open with like generic synchros. So honestly, I feel like, you know, getting like that free tuner, you know, isn't like the source of that problem.
Also summoning a formula synchron for free and drawing and then synchroing on their turn, and
or just anything like that,
or the Auroradon play, you know.
Yeah, well, Auroradon is another card people said should get banned, because then a lot of people can't pop off as much, you know. But that's the other thing for Auroradon. I've heard people say watch them ban Despot 1 instead of just banning Auroradon.
They probably will. It's
know,
like Jet Synchron being banned. It's like, why do you ban that card? That card was so good in Synchrons, but now you can't play it anymore.
Yeah, it's just gonna end up banning like another unnecessary card.
And that's the thing. Some of these cards, if you ban them, you can bring other shit back.
Yeah.
You know? Like, they might still be hella good, but maybe not as good, you know?
But yeah, I guess off the top of my head, you know, Needle Fiber, Halkifibrax.
Yeah, he's definitely a good one. That I like that card too, but I'll be honest, like, card's too good. Like,
it might be a possibility.
Yeah.
But Anyway.
But hopefully, some cards that they peel off that I didn't get to say was Tidal. I want Tidal back to 1. We'll make Mermails way better. Yes.
Blaster also. That'd be sick.
Yeah, all the Eve Dragons back at 1. That'd be crazy. And then Heavy Storm. Like I was saying, Regeki, Dark Hole is out 3, Harpy's Feather is at 1. But Heavy Storm still isn't back, you know?
Yeah, Heavy
like
Storm could easily be at least 1. I know they're scared to put spell and trap removal at 3, unlike monster removal, but like Heavy Storm should be at least at 1 if Harpy's Feather Duster is back, because it's like,
yeah,
you know, I don't know, but I agree with that one. You know, obviously there's plenty of staple spell and traps that are too broken and can't come back, but like that one's a good one. You know, like Heavy Storm, why the hell is that not back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let them experiment with it. You know, they brought Snatch Steal to 1.
Very shortly.
They lasted one. That's when Darklaw came out. I remember Francisco would always be like, oh, Snatch Steal, take your Darklaw, attack. And then, like, I would, I'm playing Heroes. I would, like, try to search, and he'd be like, I'm going to banish 1 card from your hand. See, does it feel good? Huh? And I'm just like, damn, dude, like, fuck. Like, I just wanted to play Heroes. And we finally got the structure deck, when the structure deck first came out. And, it made it cheaper. Because, yeah. So, it's like, yeah, it's just funny.
Do you have any other needs? I know you don't think Maxi should come back, right?
I'll take it at 1. Fuck it.
I'll take it at any, honestly. Just like
if Crossout Designator, because right now Crossout Designator has been going back up. It's like at 50 right now. It went back up. People are actually playing it now. I mean, you could put Maxi to 1. Put in 1 in your deck, and then if somebody tries to Maxi you could be like Designator, banish the Maxi, negate the Maxi.
Yeah, I agree with the 1 too.
True.
Yeah.
I think 1's cool.
Yeah, I would personally, I'd hope for at least 2, but 1, I mean, I'd take it, because then it would just be like a typical 1 of staple, like, hey, I drew it, heart of the cards, bitch, like. But damn, well, yeah, that's our rogue take on the ban list. Obviously, in the comment section below, we want you guys to let us know all your opinions. Try to be respectful. If not, whatever, it's your life. But we want to hear your guys' opinions on our talking points. Mainly, we want to hear your bad and good Yu-Gi-Oh stories. If you at least sat through for that, please, because I know there's some funny ass shit out there. Whether it's somebody raging at your locals, a good play you did, if you won when you shouldn't have won, but because you drew the person bricked, whatever it may be. Let us know in the comment section. Yeah, let us know your Yu-Gi-Oh stories. Let us know what archetype you want support for, and please give us be detailed. Give us your specific needs, like make up a card for them, like a create a card. We want to see you go in. Give me a good ass Naturia card that would change the deck. I don't know. And then lastly, I know it's a dead horse and we're a little late on it, but what do you absolutely want to see come off and get banned or limited, blah blah blah, for the ban list?